Welcome back. Greetings, everyone. We are continuing with the book of Daniel. Yes, there have been some glitches here and there because of some reasons or some unforeseen things which were just coming in, but we still continue with the book of Daniel. We have looked at the book of Daniel, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, and chapter 6 so far. And if you have never listened to any of those parts or chapters, you may follow me on this same TikTok, and then you will see those chapters that we have dealt with in the past. Very important chapters. So let's look at this one for today. Chapter 7, Daniel chapter 7, presented by me, Mr. Kosa. Very important that you pray before you can continue into this study. And I believe God is with us to continue and give us understanding. Right, let's proceed. In Daniel chapter 7, in verse 1, we start with the dream of Daniel. Daniel dreaming dreams. It says, in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. So Daniel is seeing visions and is having dreams, and he has told the sum or what has happened. Verse 2 now it says, Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heavens drove upon the great sea. The four winds of heaven. This was his dream. The four winds of heaven drove, or it blew upon the great sea. Okay. Then we continue with that. In verse 3 it says, and four great beasts, right? So first thing, you have the four winds of heaven that are striving upon. There's a strive here, commotion, striving upon the sea. Then he says, then and four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. So there are four great beasts, four big animals came out from that commotion. Then the first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings, and I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. So this is a type of an animal that Daniel sees, as you see it portrayed there, an animal, the lion animal with the eagle's wings, right? Then after that, the wings were taken off, plucked off, and then now it was made to stand up on feet like a man. So meaning now it was standing like a man, and then it was given a man's heart. Then the third beast, third animal that we see in Daniel chapter 7 verse 5, it says, and behold another beast, the second like to a bear. And it raised up itself on one side, and it had three ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. So this is the type of a beast that you see them as a bear with three ribs upon its mouth. And then now we see the third one. The third one in Daniel chapter 7 verse 6, it says, and this I beheld, and lo, another. So you see they are coming one after the other. Then I see another. They're not coming at the same time. They come one after another. That is very important to notice, that they are coming one after another, and there is a form of commotion that is taking place in the sea, which then results in the coming up of these beasts. All right. This other one is like a leopard, which had upon the back of it four wings of a fowl. The beast had also four heads. So this is very important to notice. This makeup. Okay, this makeup, 4 wings of a fowl, and the beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Continue in verse 7. And after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. It's interesting the way this beast is depicted here, or is described. It tells you something that is very important, which you need to have a good linkage in the Bible. You will remember that there is a fourth element in the book of Daniel chapter 2. A fourth element there. From all those elements, metals which Daniel spoke about, you had the head of gold, you have the hands, the chest, the hands and the chest of silver, then you have the belly and the thighs of brass, then coming down you have iron. You have iron there. Then later down there you have a mixture of iron and clay. Then you have the toes. Then from there you have the stone that was cut without man's hand, and then it came and hit. So there, here on this fourth beast, as you can see here, you have the iron teeth, you have the crushing and all that. So this is what is happening here, the crushing. And as you can see on that other side, you have the same thing, the iron that is crushing, right? Just something that is interesting to think about. Then the part B of the same beast now, this beast, the terrible beast of Daniel chapter 7, this one which is undescribable. It is not like the animals that we know, which we can identify. So this one, upon it I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them. So you have 10 horns, and then among the 10 horns then comes up another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked by the root. So it removes 3 from the first 10 horns. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of men, and a mouth speaking great things. Very important to understand the speaking of great things here, and the eyes of a man. So these are identifying marks which are very, very important. Then from there you have the throne room. In the book of Daniel 7 verse 9, he says, I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. So basically here you have the throne room where now the Ancient of Days is sitting. I don't know who is the Ancient of Days, but it is understood that this is God. This is the Father. Okay, so basically that's what you have up to so far, that now there is someone who is sitting on the throne room, and then on this throne, as he is sitting there, what is happening? Verse 10, he says, a fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. 1,000,000 ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 men stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. So you can see that after the this coming up of different beasts, after all these beasts have come up, then you have now the throne room. After in the throne room, then you have the judgment that is taking place there. Then verse 11, the next verses, it shows that verse 13 and verse 14, I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. You can see here we're talking of someone who comes and receiving dominion, receiving the kingdom. And you will notice that side in the book of Daniel chapter 2, you have the stone that comes and hit the whole thing, the whole image, and then it gets established, and then God set up his kingdom upon the earth to fill up the whole earth. Then you notice something that is similar to that here, right? So you can see some form of similarities between Daniel chapter 7 and also Daniel chapter 2. So how do we interpret this? The first thing you need to understand that the wind was driving upon the sea. So this is a destructive wind. So what does it mean? In the book of Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 1 and verse 4, it says, "Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me, a destroying wind." You see, a striving wind, a destroying wind. What is this destroying wind will do? Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. So here basically you have a form of a war, you have a form of bloodshedding, you have a form of a conflict that is taking place where there are fights that are taking place. So basically we can say that interpretation here is telling us that there is going to be a sort of a war that is going to take place in the land. And if you see this is not in the land, in the waters, right? Because this blowing of wind is happening above in the water, and it's from different directions. Okay, so these different directions, you notice that the different directions is like the whole world. All right, four winds of heaven, the whole earth. Jeremiah 49 verse 36. "And upon Elam will I bring the four winds from the four quarters of heaven," you see, "and will scatter them toward all those winds." So upon Elam will be scattered to the winds where the winds were coming from, four quarters. Okay, so what is that? "And there shall be no nation whither the outcasts of Elam shall not come." So you see, basically, they will go to different parts, to different lands in distant areas. So it's all over the whole earth. Okay, so basically, what does it mean? There's going to be a commotion. In this commotion, the commotion will take place throughout the whole world, global. So there will be wars, fights, fighting for what? Fighting for what? There is wars, fighting for what? Beasts. So now we have beasts that rises up. According to Daniel chapter 7 verse 23, "Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces." So basically there are kingdoms that will rise from all this. So basically you find that the waters that we're talking about in Revelation chapter 17 verse 15, it shows to you that this water is representing multitudes of people. So there's going to be strife, that is the destroying wind, strife, wars, and upon what? Upon the sea representing multitudes of people. So upon the multitudes of people, there's going to be wars and strife, trying to gain control. And as this is going on, then there's going to be rising different empires that will control the whole world. Different empires that will control the whole world. Those are the beasts. Okay. So then as that is happening, then the first beast will come up. This one is a lion-like beast. According to Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 37, "Babylon shall become heaps, a dwelling place for dragons, and an astonishment, and a hissing without an inhabitant. They shall roar together like lions, they shall yell as lions." So basically you can see from here that actually God used in the Bible to represent Babylon as lion, right? As lions, as young lions, but he will be representing Babylon as lions. And if you can go to the internet, you're also going to find that the Babylon on itself, it was represented by a similar way. It was represented as a lion. right? And once you have that established, that Babylon was represented as a lion, then you go back to the book of Daniel chapter 2. You notice that in the book of Daniel chapter 2, it also starts with a lion, and there are 4 empires that are there in Daniel chapter 2, which is the same thing now here on Daniel chapter 7. You also have 4 empires, and then after that, judgment. The same thing that is happening over on the other side. So you can have some form of parallel using whatever that you had found in Daniel chapter 2, and then you can now parallel it together here in Daniel chapter 7. But besides that, the second beast that came, it was a bear-like type of a beast. It had 3 ribs, right? And according to the Bible, it was raised on one side. It was raised on one side. You go back to Daniel chapter 7, you're going to find that the second element, the second metal for that stature, it was having the chest and the hands. And we understand that the person, if it's the stature of a person that is standing, then it has hands, the arms. You notice that the arms of a person, they are 2. And now if you apply it here, then you have one side that is raised upon the other on this beast, right? So that's where now you can see that the kingdom that came there, it was divided into 2. You have one side of it and the other side of it. The other one was stronger than the other. And you'll notice this also in Daniel chapter 8, that you have this interpretation of saying that there is one which is stronger than the other. And that is according to the book of Daniel chapter 5 verse 28. Thy kingdom is divided and given to the Persians and the Medes and the Persians. So you have 2 there that are combining forces to work against Babylon, and then they took over. Then Darius is the one that took over when he was 62 years old, according to verse 31. Then the third beast that comes after the Medes and the Persians is in Daniel chapter 8 verse 20 and 21. It shows you that actually immediately after the Medes and the Persia, then the next kingdom came. The next kingdom was Gracia. Daniel chapter 8 verse 20 and 21. The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia, and the rough goat is the king of Gracia. So you see, after the Persians, after the Medes, then comes Gracia. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. We'll explain this one of Daniel chapter 8 in details, but just from this verse, you notice that the kingdom that came after the second kingdom, it was the Gracia. And you will notice when you also go to the book of Daniel, chapter 11, and also here in chapter 8, that there are 4 heads, four horns that came up out of this he goat, which represents 4 kings and 4 nations that rose after the first horn, or after the first king of Gracia. So you have 4 there, and you also now have 4 in the book of Daniel chapter 7, that there are 4 heads, the 4 heads there. These 4 heads, according to the book of Revelation chapter 17, verse 9 and verse 10, you discover that the heads are representing kings. So there's a collaboration here. There's a working together of scriptures very connected to each other, which helps us to understand that actually this is one thing that is repeated over and over again with a form of enlargement to give us more details as we proceed of the things that will happen in the future. So that was the third beast. And then comes the fourth beast in Romans, which is basically the Roman Empire. In the book of Luke chapter 2 verse 1, just as we have seen in the book of Daniel chapter 2, that after the Medes and the Persians came the Grecian Empire. After the Grecian Empire came the Romans. Then is the same thing here, just immediately after the Grecian Empire. Even on history, we have that the kingdom that came, the empire that came, is the Roman kingdom. The Roman kingdom. So according to Luke chapter 2 verse 1, and it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. Augustus is the Caesar of Rome. And then Acts chapter 22 verse 26, when the centurion heard that, he went and told the chief captain, saying, take heed what thou doest, for this man is a Roman. Because they were Romans themselves. The Jews were under the empire of Rome, and whatever that they do, which needed council, which needed magistrates, which needed an empire to respond, they were sending that to the Roman Empire. They were sending that to Rome to decide on the matter, so that they will not be against. It will not be a treason, as if they are fighting against their empire, the empire which is ruling over them. All right. Then after that, after this Roman Empire, according to the book of Daniel chapter 7, it shows you another stage that will take place. The next stage that will take place, we're talking about the 10 nations, the 10 horns that will arise from there. Listen to verse 24. It says, and the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise. You see, they shall arise. Arise from where? From this beast. And another shall arise after them. So they are following each other. So you just have the beast first, and then after that you have the 10 kings, or the 10 nations, or the 10 horns, and then from there, then you have another little one that will arise after this 10. All right, and he shall be diverse from the first. So this little one is not going to be like these other ones, and shall subdue 3 kings. Then he was going to remove, to uproot, to subdue 3 of the horns, or 3 kings, according to that. Then when you look at Revelation chapter 17 verse 9 and 10, it shows you that those horns are representing the kings, right? Because it says, and here's the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth, and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come, and when he cometh, he must continue a short space. So, though that is talking more of them, is talking of the heads which I referred to earlier. But when you read in the chapter 7 verse 24, you discover that actual ones are representing the kings. Right. So history affirms this, that after the collapse of the Roman Empire, remember, Roman Empire got divided into 2. You had the east, you ended up having the east and having the west, right? So in the east, this is where now Constantine went to the east. In the east, that's where he established his Constantinople, the city of Constantine. And then after establishing the city of Constantine, which is called Constantinople, then he left the other side, the west, where he left the empire there. So when he left someone, the bishops of Rome, to be the ones that will be overlooking who is becoming the king, or the one who will be overlooking that side. Who is that? And then the ones which were having powers to see to it that there is a flow of things accordingly there. It was the bishops of Rome, from the Christian church, if we may put it in that way. So there was a time before this that there was a disintegration. During this division, now you had barbarian tribes or barbarian nations that started to what is this word now? To weaken Rome from the western side, and because of that, then that western part began to be divided divided, and then now you start to have many other nations that managed to stand on their own, singled out because they could not be conquered. So they started to weaken the empire from that side, from the western side. And this is what it says here. The historian Machiavel, without the slightest reference to this prophecy, gives the following list of the nations which occupied the territory of the Western Empire, at the time of the fall of Romulus Augustulus in 476 AD, the last emperor of Rome. Then it says we had the Lombards, we had the Franks, the Burgundians, the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths, the Vandals, the Herules, the Sueves, the Huns, and the Saxons, 10 in all. So if you can see, there were 10. That's what it says here. And that is in the book H. Grattan Guinness, The Divine Program of the World's History, page 318. So you can see from here that there was a division in the western side. And then those barbarian tribes, nations, they began to weaken the Roman kingdom. As this was taking place, then there was an introduction of this little horn, which we're going to talk about in the future. The little horn which was going to speak against God's people, the little horn which was going to speak against God, the little horn which was going to think of changing God's laws, the little horn which was going to bring persecution, the little horn which was going to be given a time of ruling, this little horn which was going to blaspheme God. We'll talk more about this little horn later. But up to so far, history is showing us that indeed these things which the book of Daniel had recorded before things happen, all these things are true. They happened exactly as foretold. And this makes us to trust God more and to trust the Bible more, because what God says, it does not change. It happens as He has declared them. So may we trust God more on this. And there are still more things that He has declared in the Bible which will help us to understand the things that feels or seems like they are hidden. But through prophecies, those things are not hidden. They are just on plain sight. It's only that we like to make arguments as people. But when we go back to the Bible, we're going to find that everything is plainly put, which is why Jesus Christ says, I have told you all these things beforehand, so that when they happen, you may believe. Through prophecy, our belief, our faith in Him gets to be established, and we get to know the truth which we thought was hidden, which we thought sometimes that it was no more valid. But through the prophecies, then we can validate even those things which seemed not to be valid. And may God bless you, that you may continue to read more and continue to follow these studies, so that you may have the truth as it is. In Jesus' name we pray.